Top 10 insane tractors you won't believe are real. Forget everything you know about tractors. These machines shouldn't exist. Yet here they are. You're about to see tractors that climb cliffs, tractors powered by jet turbines, tractors running on 2 engines at once, and a monster at number 1 so massive the ground shakes when it moves. Some were banned, some were abandoned because they were too dangerous, and some are still out there today, quietly defying physics in real fields. If someone showed them to you without context, you'd swear they were CGI or military prototypes. But every one of them is real. Before we dive in, comment your guess. Which tractor deserves the number 1 spot? The loudest, the biggest, or the most dangerous? I'm replying to every comment. And if you love real machines doing impossible things, hit that like button so we can prove tractors are anything but boring. Now stay with me, because the final machine didn't just break records. It broke the rules of farm engineering so hard that no company has ever dared build another. Let's begin. Ranked 10th. Allis-Chalmers D21. The tractor that started the horsepower wars. When the Allis-Chalmers D21 rolled onto American farms in 1963, farmers didn't just stare, they stepped back. No tractor of that era was supposed to look this big or sound this angry. The D21 arrived with more than 100 horsepower, a number that shattered every rule of farm equipment at the time. Most tractors were still struggling around 50 to 70 horsepower, but the D21, it showed up with nearly double the power and a stance that looked like it wanted to fight something. Operators quickly learned that this machine wasn't gentle. Under heavy pull, the front end could lift off the ground, something unheard of in mainstream tractors. The long hood, the raised fuel tank, the oversized rear tires, everything about it seemed designed to intimidate. But what truly made the D21 insane wasn't just its size or horsepower, it was the effect it had on the industry. Competing brands panicked. Farmers lined up at dealerships asking for something that can beat the D21. And suddenly the quiet era of steady incremental upgrades was gone. This was the birth of the horsepower wars. A decade-long battle where every major manufacturer tried to outmuscle the others, releasing bigger, louder, and more extreme machines year after year. The D21 didn't just raise the bar, it flipped it upside down and forced the entire industry to chase it. And that's why it opens our list. An insane machine, not because it was the biggest or the strongest, but because it changed everything after it. Ranked 9th, Ford 8600 Turbo. The Blue Jet. In the mid-1970s, farmers started hearing a sound across open fields that didn't belong to the countryside. A rising whine, a sharp metallic hiss, and then a deep rolling thunder. It wasn't an airplane, it was a tractor, the Ford 8600 Turbo, charging across farmland like nothing anyone had heard before. The secret behind the madness was the turbocharger. Ford didn't just add one, they pushed it to its limits. When the turbo spooled, it delivered a burst of power so sudden that operators described it as a kick in the spine. The cab would shake, the steering column vibrated, and the turbo whistle, it echoed across entire counties. The 8600 Turbo became known as the Blue Jet, not because of its color, but because of the way it sounded when farmers opened the throttle. The turbo whine climbed in pitch like a turbine engine, and the exhaust stack erupted in a violent roar. But what truly made this tractor insane wasn't just the noise. It was the raw attitude. Unlike the smooth power curves of modern machines, the 8600 delivered force in a way that felt unpredictable, untamed. Pull a load that was just a bit too heavy, and the front end would float. Push the turbo too long, and the heat could turn the exhaust cherry red at night. Yet farmers loved it. For some, this was the first time they felt what true turbocharged power meant in agriculture. For others, it was the moment Ford proved they could step into the horsepower wars with something loud, violent, and impossible to ignore. The Ford 8600 Turbo didn't just work the fields. It announced itself long before it arrived. And that's why it earns the number 9 spot. A tractor so wild that even today, people still stop and turn their heads when they hear that unmistakable whistle. Ranked 8th. John Deere 8020, America's first Super 4WD. Long before four-wheel drive tractors became normal, there was one machine that looked like it came from a different century. A machine so large, so advanced, and so expensive that many farmers refused to believe it was real when they first saw it. This was the John Deere 8020, released quietly in 1961, yet decades ahead of its time. Standing over 13 feet tall with a long, squared hood and massive frame, the 8020 didn't look like a farm tractor. It looked like an industrial prototype that escaped from a government test facility, and in a way, it was. Engineers at Deere equipped it with a Detroit diesel 671 two-stroke engine, a power plant normally reserved for military equipment and heavy dozers. The result? A deep, throaty rumble unlike anything else on American farms. But the true insanity was the drivetrain. The 8020 delivered full-time four-wheel drive with articulation, a concept so rare at the time that most dealers had to explain what four-wheel drive even meant to customers. Its traction was unbelievable, its pulling power unmatched, and its size absolutely intimidating. Yet for all its brilliance, the 8020 was too far ahead. It cost more than most farmers could justify. It required training no one had. Only 101 units were ever built, but those who ran one described the same feeling. It didn't feel like operating a tractor, it felt like operating the future. Today, collectors consider the 8020 one of the rarest, most jaw-dropping machines Deere ever produced. A tractor so insane for its era that it had to wait 30 years for the rest of the industry to catch up. And that's why it sits at number 8. A machine too big, too bold, and too brilliant for the time that created it. Ranked 7th, Steiger Wildcat twin engine. The tractor with two hearts. Most tractors have one engine. Some experimental tractors push boundaries with oversized cylinders or aggressive turbochargers. But only one machine in farm history dared to do something truly outrageous. It ran with two hearts, two full engines, two sources of power feeding into one drive system. This was the Steiger Wildcat twin engine, an experimental beast built in a period when the horsepower wars were spiraling into madness. From the outside, it looked like a typical early Steiger. Industrial green, boxy, rugged. But the moment you opened the hood, everything changed. Instead of one diesel block, you saw two engines mounted side by side, synchronized through a central power transfer system that looked like it belonged inside a factory, not a field. When both engines were running, the Wildcat produced a sound no farmer forgot. A deep, pulsing vibration, like two giants breathing in unison. Operators said the ground would tremble as the power plants tried to match RPM, and when the synchronization hit perfectly, the entire machine surged forward with terrifying force. But this brute strength came with a price. Keeping two engines perfectly balanced was a mechanical tightrope. If one lagged even slightly, torque transferred unevenly, causing wheel hop, frame shake, or sudden directional pull. Many early testers admitted they were both amazed and afraid while sitting in the seat. Still, the concept was groundbreaking. It proved that multi-engine farm power could work, paving the way for future high-horsepower approaches and inspiring engineers for decades. Today, the Steiger twin engine stands as one of the craziest experiments ever attempted in agricultural machinery. A tractor that wasn't just overpowered, it was alive, beating with two diesel hearts that demanded total respect. And that's why it earns the number 7 spot. A machine so insane that even Steiger never dared build another one like it. Ranked 6th, International Harvester HT341, the jet turbine tractor. A tractor powered not by pistons, not by diesel injection, but by an actual jet turbine. This was the International Harvester HT341, one of the boldest agricultural experiments ever attempted. At its core was a Boeing 502 turbine engine, the same type used in small aircraft and military equipment. When it started, the tractor didn't idle like a diesel. It spooled up, a rising, high-pitched whine that built into a full turbine scream. Instead of exhaust puffs, it produced a blazing stream of superheated air capable of scorching anything behind it. Operators described the startup as like waking up a helicopter inside a barn. At full throttle, the engine spun at nearly 37,000 RPM, far beyond anything the farm world had ever seen. Even the simple act of engaging the driveline felt like controlling a weapon rather than a tool. But the insanity didn't end there. Because turbine engines deliver smooth, constant torque, the HT341 accelerated shockingly fast for a tractor. No vibrations, no combustion noise, just a relentless, rising howl as the turbine pushed the machine forward. It was futuristic, brilliant, and completely impractical. Fuel consumption was outrageous, heat output was dangerous, and the exhaust blast was so intense that IH engineers placed warnings behind the seat. Do not stand within the rear cone while engine is running. Only one prototype was fully completed. It never reached the field in mass production, but it became a legend. Proof that during the wildest chapter of agricultural innovation, no idea was too extreme to try. The HT341 wasn't a tractor trying to be modern. It was a tractor trying to be a jet engine on wheels. And that's why it earns the number 6 spot. A machine so unbelievable that even today, many people assume it's a myth until they hear the turbine start. Ranked 5th, Belarus T150K Climber, the mountain spider. The Belarus T150K, nicknamed the Climber. At first glance, the T150K seemed awkward. A tall cab, a long articulated frame, and wheels spaced wide like a mountain goat stance. But everything about its design had a purpose. The cab wasn't just high, it was engineered to tilt, allowing operators to stay level while climbing slopes that would flip other tractors backward. Its center articulation let the machine twist and flex as the terrain changed beneath it, and its oversized tires dug into hillside soil with surprising grip, even in deep mud and snow. Operators said the first time they tried climbing a steep grade, the machine felt almost alive, shifting its weight, adjusting its angle, and crawling upward with a confidence that bordered on eerie. The T150K wasn't fast, it wasn't comfortable, and it wasn't elegant. But on extreme slopes, it became legendary. Where other tractors spun out, the T150K kept moving. Where others tipped, it stayed planted. Where others simply couldn't go, it climbed. Slowly, relentlessly, and without hesitation. Some Soviet engineers even joked, if the mountain doesn't want to move, send the T150K to convince it. Today, its silhouette is iconic in Eastern Europe, not because it was beautiful, but because it tackled landscapes that should have been impossible for wheeled machinery. And that's why it earns the number 5 spot. A tractor so strange, so specialized, and so stubbornly capable that farmers still call it the mountain spider. Ranked 4th, Challenger Terra Gator Experimental, the 3-wheel spaceship. This machine didn't look like a tractor. It looked like something that landed in a cornfield from another planet. A massive central chassis, a towering cab with panoramic glass, and, most shocking of all, 3 enormous flotation wheels arranged in a triangle stance. 2 in the front, 1 gigantic drive wheel in the rear. This strange configuration gave the Terra Gator a silhouette unlike anything agriculture had ever seen. On soft soil, the wide, balloon-like tires floated instead of sinking. On slopes, the center chassis shifted like a gimbal, keeping the operator unnervingly stable. And on flat land, the machine moved with a slow, sweeping glide that looked almost aerodynamic. But the real insanity was the boom and sprayer system designed for early high-capacity chemical application. When fully unfolded, the Terra Gator stretched so wide that birds reportedly avoided flying near it. And at full speed, the machine shook violently. A trembling resonance engineers tried to solve but never fully eliminated. Operators said the first time they hit the throttle, the cab felt like a cockpit, high seat position, aircraft-style controls, and a strange sensation that the machine wanted to float rather than drive. It wasn't built for beauty, it wasn't built for comfort. It was built for sheer coverage, massive acre-by-acre application that no conventional tractor of its era could match. Yet the unusual design, combined with eye-watering development costs, meant the prototype never went mainstream. It remained an engineering experiment, one that proved how bizarre, bold, and boundary-breaking agricultural machines could be. Today, archived footage of the Terra Gator still shocks viewers. a three-wheel megastructure drifting across farmland like a yellow spaceship touching down on Earth. And that's why it holds the number 4 spot. A machine so strange, so futuristic, and so unforgettable that people still question if the footage is real. Ranked third, Claas Xerion 5000 BC, the shape-shifting tractor. Most tractors in the world are designed with one purpose: pull, push, or power an implement in one direction, forward. But the Claas Xerion 5000 VC is not most tractors. It's one of the only machines ever built that can change its identity in seconds. At the heart of this monster lies its signature feature, a cab mounted on a massive rotating platform. With a single command, the entire operator cabin turns 180 degrees, locking into place with a heavy metallic clunk that feels like transforming a machine in real life. In standard mode, the Xerion behaves like a high-horsepower, premium German tractor. But rotate the cab, and suddenly it becomes something entirely different. A reverse-drive forage machine, a silage pusher, or even a high-precision industrial hauler. This shifting identity is made possible by an advanced hydraulic system and a reinforced frame engineered to handle stresses from any orientation. No matter where the cab faces, the steering, power delivery, and visibility remain perfectly aligned. A feat of engineering that borders on magic. Then there's the power. With up to 530 horsepower, the Xerion doesn't just move heavy equipment, it commands it. Massive torque, high-flow hydraulics, electronic intelligence woven through every joint. Operators say driving the Xerion feels less like operating a farm tractor and more like piloting an earth-moving robot. But the moment it truly becomes insane is when viewers watch the cab rotate for the first time. The entire top of the machine swings like a turret, shifting roles instantly, leaving people wondering, did that tractor just turn into something else? Yes, it did. And that's why the Claas Xerion 5000 VC ranks at number 3, a shape-shifting, multi-role engineering marvel that doesn't just do more tasks, it becomes the machine needed for each one. Ranked second, Case IH Quadtrac prototype. The machine farmers thought was fake. When the very first Quadtrac prototype appeared on a test field in the early 1990s, the reactions were immediate and identical: silence, then disbelief. Farmers didn't think it was new. They thought it was fake, a military vehicle painted red, or some experimental snowcrawler that accidentally ended up in a wheat field. 4 massive rubber tracks, a long, angular articulation joint, and a silent, almost unnatural way of moving across soft soil. No wheels, no tire slip, no bouncing, just steady, relentless motion. This was long before track tractors became mainstream, and no one had ever seen a machine behave like this. The Quadtrac prototype used a radical concept. Instead of steel tracks like old crawlers, it used 4 independent rubber track modules, each with its own suspension and drive system. That meant unprecedented grip, almost zero compaction, and stability that felt impossible. Test drivers said that the first time they pulled a heavy implement, it felt like the tractor was glued to the earth. No spin, no struggle, just raw, controlled power. The articulation joint added to the eeriness. As the machine turned, the center pivot flexed like a spine, smooth, fluid, and quiet. To onlookers, it felt like watching a gigantic red animal, not a machine. Rumors spread fast. This can't be a farm tractor. No company would build something this extreme. It has to be a government project. But it was real, and it was about to change everything. The Quadtrac prototype proved that tracks didn't have to be slow, they didn't have to be noisy, and they didn't have to tear up soil. They could be the future of high-horsepower agriculture. Today's Case IH Quadtracs dominate fields worldwide, but none carry the mystique of that early prototype. A machine so strange, so advanced, and so ahead of its era that farmers truly believed it wasn't meant for agriculture at all. And that's why the prototype takes the number 2 spot. Not just because it was powerful, but because it looked like a science fiction machine accidentally dropped into reality. In first place, Big Bud 16 V747, the largest, craziest tractor ever built. Every list has a number 1, But in the world of tractors, there's only one machine that deserves the crown. A machine so massive, so powerful, and so unbelievably real that people still argue whether its footage is CGI. This is the Big Bud 16 V747, the largest farm tractor ever built in human history. Standing over 14 feet tall, weighing nearly 70 tons in full-field trim, and powered by a 16-cylinder Detroit diesel engine the size of a small room, the 747 wasn't designed to compete. It was designed to dominate. Its creators in Montana didn't follow a blueprint. They didn't follow industry standards. They followed a simple idea: build the most powerful tractor the world has ever seen. And they succeeded. The 16 V747 produces over 900 horsepower, but it's the way it delivers that power that makes it insane. When it pulls a 50-foot cultivator through heavy clay soil, the ground shudders. Its 8 tires, each taller than an adult, bite into the earth with a force so strong that spectators often step back instinctively. Operators describe sitting in the cab as surreal. You don't feel like you're driving a tractor. You feel like you're commanding a moving industrial complex. Switches click like aircraft controls. The engine hums like a power plant. And the view from the seat makes the world look small. But what truly elevates the legend is this: the Big Bud 747 still works. Decades after it was built, after countless acres, after being retired and rebuilt, it returned to the field, still unmatched, still uncontested, still the king. No manufacturer has ever attempted to build another tractor this large, not because it's impossible, but because there is no reason to. The 747 sits at the edge of what farming machinery can be, a mechanical monument, a record that will likely never be broken. And that's why it stands at number 1. Not just the biggest, not just the strongest, but the craziest farm tractor ever created. A 70-ton reminder that sometimes humans build machines simply to see how far the limits can be pushed. And that brings us to the end of this countdown. 10 tractors so insane, so extreme, and so unbelievably real that they've rewritten everything we thought farm machines could be. From jet turbine experiments to twin-engine beasts to the legendary giant that still holds the crown, each one of these machines proved that farming isn't just work. It's engineering pushed to its absolute limits. Now I want to hear from you. Which tractor shocked you the most? Was it the turbine monster, the rotating cab transformer, or the 70-ton king at number 1? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this documentary, hit that like button and subscribe for more real machines doing impossible things. Your support helps this channel create bigger, deeper, and more cinematic stories about the machines that shaped our world. And if you're still hungry for more horsepower, don't leave yet. I've pinned a video right on the screen that takes you even deeper into the wildest engineering experiments ever built. Trust me, if you love this one, you're going to want to see what comes next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next documentary.